I was privileged to represent you as a commissioner at this year's General Assembly. And it is a privilege, although sometimes it doesn't feel that way. For those of you who were here 10 or 11 years ago, Mary Perkins was also a commissioner and was asking for you all and sends her regards. Children, are you listening carefully? Because I wonder if you know what a faculty is. No? Neither do I. But everyone kept talking about it at the General Assembly. It seems to have a body with lots of parts. I don't know if it's, I mean, we've got parts sticking out. I don't know if it's hands or, but it's got lots of bits sticking on anyway. I don't even know if it's soft and comforting and cuddly, or if it's spiky and maybe a bit scary. So I've got some paper here on a board. Will you get your felt tips out of your bag and come round here and see if you could please draw me a faculty? Nobody has ever seen one, so yours will be the first in the world, right? So please get cracking. Here's your board. Body with bits of it. And I'll give you some things to add when I've finished talking. Right. So, probably all of us here have been to an AGM, and you will agree that it's not the most fascinating meeting of the year of your organisation, whether it be the village hall, the community council, the church-stated annual meeting. We don't come flocking through the door, do we? However, the General Assembly is the church's annual meeting. Do come in. All right. All GMs have sections which are dry as dust, and this one is no different. 26 reports. They can't all be exciting, but some are interesting, some very moving, some very important. In fact, they're all important. So we'll start with the interesting ones. First, our new moderator. He's the Reverend Dr. Shaw Patterson. Now, Shaw is his first, presumably Christian, name, not part of a hyphenated surname. I think he could be described as portly. He did say that once when asked what size of pyjamas he would like, he replied, "I would like medium, but you'd better make them large." He also came over as very humble, approachable, and compassionate, the kind of person to whom you would be very quick to confide. So that was the moderator. Next, we have the Lord High Commissioner. It was his first time at the Assembly as the Duke of Edinburgh, but he was here before with the title of the Earl of Wessex. On both occasions, he was accompanied by his wife, Sophie. A charming couple, they seemed very relaxed, with the Duke and the moderator enjoying an easy repartee and sharing a gentle, teasing sense of humour with each other. I mean, the Duke brought a pack of sweeties for him on the last morning. The Duke and Duchess took time out during their visit to go to Colin Tyree, the North East Highlands, and various social groups in the Central Belt, apparently including the Sunflower Seed, where our session clerk's daughter is employed. So that's another little feather in our cap. Other guests included the moderator of the Church of Central Africa Presbyterian, which is celebrating its centenary this year. She was a charming lady from Malawi who told us of the dreadful droughts and floods throughout that country. It also had the leads or principals of the United Reformed Church, the Methodist, Anglican and Episcopal churches, and also Bishop Neil Cushley of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Lanarkshire, who grew up not far from and at the same time as the moderator. I mention him because although he seemed quite stiff when he brought greetings from his church, he was actually very friendly and chatty when we landed beside him at lunchtime. A reminder not to judge too quickly. Towards the end of the week, we had a lovely visit from the Archbishop of Canterbury, or is he retired, the Right Reverend Justin Welby. He too was very witty and self-deprecating, but also brought a serious message concerning, in his case, the situation in Sudan, as he recalled a historic visit last year made by himself, the Pope, and the then moderator of the Church of Scotland. The situation is, of course, much worse now, as Sudan tears itself apart and refugees are flooding to South Sudan and west in the search for a safe place and food. That brings me to some of the rather moving times, such as the visit to Dungavel Detention Centre. After the polite and positive welcome and introductions, it didn't take long for the team to uncover the true horror of the situation for detainees and some of the staff. The strain on Sally Foster Fulton's face showed how much distress this experience had caused her, as she was the moderator at that time. There were also pleas. There were also pleas for us to call for, can't read my own writing and I forgot to bring my other specs, also please for a call to an end to the destruction of Gaza, the release of all hostages and a safe and permanent solution so that Palestinians and Israelis might live in peace. It was during this debate that somebody came in and said that a general election had just been announced. So you have to be very careful that you don't say anything that might come over as political in the political party sense. But we can ask a government to please call for a better treatment in some parts of the world. The people of Myanmar and Ukraine were not forgotten either, and we are all called to remember and stand along with those and all those who suffer to remember in prayer and, where appropriate, with practical action. Other emotive topics were historic abuse and safeguarding, and a call to discuss end-of-life care, including assisted dying, and to bring a report to next year's Assembly. I said at the beginning we had three categories: interesting, moving, and important. Perhaps, though, this last section should be termed practical or immediate, because actually all that I have mentioned and much that I have not mentioned has been important for a variety of reasons. And of course, I haven't got time to go into them all just now, or it would be 45 minutes. As you probably know, the Church of Scotland has the second largest social work department in Scotland. Crossreach has supported 28,000 people last year, and I quote, "Every day sees the need growing, and every day we're having to turn people away." The Board of Social Responsibility helps people of all faiths and none to the tune of 48 million. And that's not counting the work done by individual congregations through food banks and respite centres and things. Social care, as we all know too well, is in crisis. The Church is supporting a campaign for care supporters to be better paid. I didn't know, and you probably don't either, that they are now 24% behind the salary of an NHS worker doing the same job. That's a huge difference. We are asked to pray for the services, lobby our MSPs, and remember to care for the carers. Another service often forgotten is chaplaincy. Our first thought is usually chaplaincy to the armed forces, but there are also men and women ministering to prisoners, students, hospital patients and staff, as well as workplaces, and we remember them all with gratitude. Finally, 3 things I haven't mentioned, and I know Jade will be wondering why I haven't. On Sunday night, we had a wonderful evening learning and singing new hymns written for today's world. Sometimes it's just the vocabulary that's been brought up to date, sometimes it's the music, and Jade is longing to try them out, so beware. On Tuesday night, we had the Guild Big Sing with reports from our project partners and hymns chosen by them. And some of you here met Michaela, so she was on film showing us about her work in Uganda. And then, almost at the very end, we had a roll call. Well, the first one was rather sad when we all had to stand up, and the list of church servants who had passed in the last year was read out, and there were a lot of people. But the next bit, after we were allowed to sit down, they had another roll call, and that was for newly ordained ministers. Can you hear me for a minute? Oh, I like that. Newly ordained ministers of the Word and Sacrament. So people have just recently become ministers. And it was quite exciting for me because the person right beside me stood up. Who do you think that could be? Yeah.
I was a bit worried they didn't know there.
Yes, that was Jade. Right. Over 400 people in person and more than 100 online. As I did remark to Mary at one point, it's a pity that people are human sometimes. But over 400 people, 36 and a half hours, because I counted it up, of listening, voting, worshipping, learning, experiencing the church at work. Exhausting, but was it worth it? Yes, of course it was. Yes, and if you ever get a chance, go for it. And the faculty, it stands for Faith in Action, Learning. I've got it somewhere because it's taking me a long time to remember. Faith, Action, Programme, Leadership, Team. Faculty. I wish they'd thought of something a bit easier to say, but if you would like to hold up your picture, can you hold it up really high? You have to stand up.
I kind of feel this has to be sent to 121 actually.
Here's our faculty. Turn it on that way. And now we're going to add all the bits that it involved. Right? There was a lot of it. 36 and a half hours in 5 minutes. It's quite tricky. Thank you.
It is, thank you.